So today is July 26th, and this is the Hubbardson Parks Commission, and we are starting our meeting at 8:14, and in attendance is Sandra Berry.
Jason Burton.
Eric and Boris.
Okay, and missing is Dave Sacramone and Brian Matheson. So we do not have minutes because David's away and he normally does the minutes. So we will just table them until next time. And I do want to say that Jay and Brian have both been appointed for 1 more year. So you only get a 1-year appointment until the next election.
Which is fantastic. Thank you, Jay, for again
Great.
the town.
Yes, thank
1
you,
more
Jay
year.
and Brian, because otherwise it would have just been me, Eric, and Dave, because no one else signed up, even though they were seeking for volunteers.
Right.
So, all right, so it's all good. So we've got quite a few things to talk about tonight. I will try to go through them quickly. But I'm starting the agenda with park maintenance, which I don't know if this is technically maintenance, but there's been some vandalism going on. So obviously the night before the Hubbardston Celebration Craft Fair in June, we're assuming kids, teenagers, tipped over all the porta potties and just made a big mess. And so Katie and I went down and cleaned it, and her husband helped and like that. But it was also brought to my attention just today with Travis, because I met with him this morning, that kids are crawling underneath that garage door to the barn, on the far side. And he said they're hanging out there.
Doesn't go all the way, right? Or it's kind of, there's like a washout or something. Is that what? Yeah, I've noticed that.
Yeah, and he actually did go and bring some gravel and filled it up more, but he says they're still just getting through, shoveling out the gravel, climbing up underneath there. A few months back, I'm going to say 6 months ago, they actually kicked in the door on the side, so they had to repair the door. That might have actually been last fall, but the door got replaced or repaired. And but he says they're still getting in there. So we had talked about, we hadn't talked about, but I had talked with others about, how can we maybe find out who's doing it and find out if we should maybe put up cameras there or something. So it was actually suggested maybe trail cameras. Someone mentioned that.
Put a trail on maybe the trees at the tree line, or what do you guys think? Or is there a line right near there? Kind of like when you come around.
So I know that I did talk to Travis today because I had a meeting with him, and this was a couple of the things he brought up. He says at the barn, at the DPW barn down there, they have security cameras around, but you need electricity. So there is electricity at that bandstand if we wanted to put actual cameras up all around it. Yeah. My concern is, would they be able to pick it up that far away? I mean, I'm going to say, how far away is that barn? Like,
it's pretty far.
Yeah.
It'd probably be a good idea to we could install, something more permanent at the bandstand, but maybe do a combination. If we did 1 or 2 at the bandstand, and then we did a trail cam or something that's, on
the barn.
By the barn, yeah.
And you think so do you think we need security lights too, or just the cameras would? I mean, my whole thing, is it going to pick up kids at nighttime? I mean, I know it picks up deer and animals, but it will pick up.
Because those are infrared, right? Jay?
My ring picks up people at night, animals, pretty clearly. Yeah.
So because this would be battery operated though, I mean, how often would we have to swap out the battery? I mean, because there's no electricity there.
Yeah, the battery, you can get them with their solar, recharged solar. Like there's a lot of different options.
Right.
Some of them don't store it themselves. They store it to a cloud. So you would need like Wi-Fi or internet access, but it just depends what we want to go with. We'd have to research something. If it's stored on the device or on some kind of card, then it'd have to go up. You'd have to go empty it and clear it every once in a while, or set it to clear every once in a while. I don't know how that would be. I'd have to look.
Okay.
Do we just lose him?
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh,
No,
Oh,
that's
fine.
okay.
Or, so it just depends what kind you get.
Okay, so does anyone want to look into that? But going forward with that, it was suggested to me that this could be something that ARPA funds could pay for if we wanted to apply for ARPA funds for it.
Yeah.
The applications for ARPA funds have to be in on Monday. And I already downloaded, I have the application, I printed it out for a few things because we're going to talk about a few things possibly to apply for. So are people, can someone look into that in the next couple of days and shoot me an email like this looks like a great one?
Right.
Oh, Brian's on. Oh, great.
If you, if one of the options you can get with those big belly trash cans
Mhm.
is Wi-Fi. And actually it shoots out a Wi-Fi signal. So we might be able to pick that Wi-Fi up off the trash can and use it on the ring.
Oh, hi, Brian, are you there? You
Hi, Brian.
Oh,
There he is.
Yep, I'm here.
oh, good, good. Hey, nice to see you. Glad you made it home.
Yes. Was there an issue? Is that why you guys are talking about cameras? Or is it
Yes,
just-
so I will backtrack pretty quickly, but so right before the Hubbardston celebration, kids were at the field and they knocked over all the porta potties. And it was just a disgusting mess.
can imagine.
And they have been breaking into the barn, so they're crawling underneath that, the door, the big garage door a while back. They actually kicked in the side door. So I had talked to some people, they had talked about getting security cameras. So that's what we're discussing right now. So the bandstand has electricity, so we could actually have hardwired cameras around there. But they're also talking, Eric and Jay were talking about maybe doing a trail camera over by the barn itself, or putting it on the barn itself, because I'm not sure if it would get picked up from the bandstand being that distance away.
Yeah,
So do you know much about them?
I don't know a whole lot about them. I mean, I know there's different options out there. You know, there's some Wi-Fi versions that, you know, it could go to the police or whatever, you know, if they saw something happening. But the trail cam, the only thing I would worry about is making sure it was attached somehow that they can't steal it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that would be the
Well,
only.
We could put it high up in a tree or something where they can't get to it, you know, we could bring a ladder, or I could even climb.
Yeah,
So you think you put it in a tree and not like on the peak of the barn?
I think if it's on the peak of the barn, I don't know if it'll, well, yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm not sure what the view is of those things, but I think they kind of have to like look at what the field of vision is.
Okay. Yeah, and there are trees around there, so.
I feel like there's options like for relatively cheap to really expensive. I don't know
Right.
what kind of, you know, are we looking for night vision or just, you know, day stuff? But
I think you-
Sounds like it's probably happening,
Yeah.
right? So maybe we need something,
night vision.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind looking into it. I'll see what we have. I think if we got those trash cans, are we gonna put in for those trash cans?
Well, we're gonna put in for them, but we're trying to resolve this right now, and the trash can thing may not even happen till next spring. So I think
Right.
maybe we should just go with what we can for
Is-
now.
Is there power?
We have a price range.
So, so what was suggested to me by the town administrator was to apply for opera funds for it. And start there. And if we don't get opera funds, then come up with a plan B, but to
Yeah.
start with opera funds. This means someone's asking me a question.
It was probably Brian telling me he was here.
Oh, okay.
You can click on it because it's not,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was Brian.
So what I was saying, Brian, is that opera applications have to be in by Monday at the latest, which is fine. And there's like $450,000 available in opera funds right now. And they will pick and choose what they think is, you know, important enough for the town or what have you. But infrastructure is part of what is approved for ARPA, and this technically would be that. So, so if people don't mind, do we, number one, we should probably vote that we want to apply for ARPA funds for security cameras for the bandstand as well as the trail cam. And we would be comfortable with what Jay comes up with versus having another whole meeting.
I would make.
Yeah,
that motion.
I couldn't agree more. Make a
And
motion.
Okay, someone has to motion that because I can't do it as the chair.
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion to investigate and apply for the funds.
I'd second that.
Okay, all in favor? Sandra,
Aye.
yes?
I don't think I can vote, right? I haven't been sworn in
No,
yet.
you can. I'm gonna let
Okay.
Jay vote too, because who knew they were gonna be closed all this week,
Okay,
right?
then,
So,
aye.
okay,
We're all in.
we're all in, okay. So staying on that same subject. We had done this whole thing previously with the solar trash compactors. Remember, we did all of that whole presentation and the whole 9 yards, and it was suggested that we also apply for ARPA funds for those. So I know I'm kind of skipping around a little bit, but so there's been an issue. So obviously we had DPW, wants carry in, carry out at the parks, and suggested we put better signage up. And so we went and we put all these signs up in the whole 9 yards. And truly, for the most part, like I'll drive by the park once or twice and I kind of basically look at the skate park, look at the basketball court, look at the playground. If it's not a lot of trash, I'll be like, oh, that's fine. If it's trash, I'll pick it up. Not a big deal. But there's been an issue when I've been walking on occasion the last couple months. I've been finding a lot of trash and a lot of dog poop bags beside the porta potty. And I thought, God, that's really weird. Why is it here? And so I, cleaned it up and what have you. And I got a call from the porta potty company that says people are throwing trash in your porta potties and it's clogging the hose. And we're going to do one of two things where it's taking our workers 30 to 45 minutes longer to clean the porta potties, because every time the hose gets stuck with the trash or dog bag, they have to stop it, pull it out, pull the crap up, trash out, redo it. So they were either going to start charging us more money to service them, or they were just going to pull them in and they wouldn't provide us porta potties. So moving forward from that, I had asked not Travis, but Ryan about, can we have a meeting? What do you suggest? Should Travis and us sit down and discuss this? Because there has been an issue in the past when I've met with DPW and the town administrator, and then they're not going to pick up trash or empty a trash barrel. So, so it's kind of gone back and forth, but long story short, met with them today. We came up with a temporary solution. Let's just try this and see if it will work, because we have an issue. We need porta potties, and people can't be putting their trash in there. So he agreed that, Travis agreed that we would try to see if this would work. So putting a barrel down by the porta potty only. And our discussion was, if it's behind the bandstand, it's by the porta potty, it's not out front and real visible, where we had problems in the past with people dumping their household trash, because they're right on 68 and it's right there, and it was very easy for people to do it. So I said, can we at least give this a try? And Ryan and Travis all sat down and talked about it. And so it's been agreed upon that they will keep an eye on the trash barrel that we leave there, and they will remove the trash, as long as it's not too heavy for them to have to remove it. And so right now I went and got a trash barrel, and Jay cut a hole in the top just for trash to fit in it. We put a bag in there. And so for now, they're going to keep an eye on it, empty it as needed. If it gets too heavy, we're going to go back to the table and discuss maybe getting a wheelie one and possibly putting a dumpster down there so they could wheel it, dump it, because their issue was them having to take it back to the DPW to throw it away. So,
Is it possible to put a sign that says something to the effect that, please dispose any trash here and not in the porta potties, or we may lose the porta potties? You know what I
well,
mean? Kind of a warning to our residents that like, this is a possibility.
it is a possibility. I'd like to give it a few weeks because I'll be honest, I don't want to advertise that there's a trash there because then I think you're gonna get people I don't know if people actually drag their trash from the playground up there or from their car up there. I think the trash is being thrown by the people walking on the track.
Right,
Because-
so I'm wondering, like, even inside the porta potty, like, stop. Put
Yeah,
it- You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean,
But, I don't know.
I did actually make up, print it off the computer, because how do you attach it to the porta potty? I mean,
You
you
gotta
duct
laminate
tape
it,
it.
laminate it and then stick it up there, Velcro or something. I don't know. Yeah, but I agree with what you're saying, Brian, because it's probably, the same repeat offenders, and it's kind of like, last I knew, I thought that dogs weren't even supposed to be up there. And yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous. The whole thing's like ridiculous, but I mean,
Well, and the other thing too, I'll be honest, I don't know how much trash we're talking. I mean, when I've gone and picked up it's mostly Dunkin' Donuts, water bottles, 4 or 5 things of dog poop. So, I think let's give it a couple weeks and see if Scotty's Potties calls us back, because I did call them today and I said, we have put a trash barrel up there. Please let us know if this continues as an issue. So I'm hoping that just by putting the trash barrel there, people are going to say, oh, that's a trash barrel. Throw it in the trash barrel instead of throwing it in the porta potty, because I'm thinking they just didn't want to take it home with them. So they were throwing it in the porta potty thinking it was just going to get, picked up by the caca-sucker and, but it was actually clogging the hose. So.
well, if you put it in there and dumped it out of the bag, then it'd be fine. But, of course, people aren't going to be that considerate. Someone who's
it
doing
kills me that people pick up their dog's crap, but leave it in a plastic bag. Like,
No, I know.
Right.
do the other, like, leave it, like,
Yeah.
be less of an issue.
Or kick it into the
Right.
woods. Bring a little shovel with you. Pick it up, fling it in the woods.
There's
But
always a couple people destroy it for everybody.
oh.
right.
So
So why don't we wait and see if Scotty's Potties gets back to us? And if they do, then we'll put signage up. And we can put something, out on Facebook. I didn't do it today because the town offices are all closed down and they're the ones who monitor the Facebook page and the town website. But I did call Scotty's Potties and said, we did put the trash barrel up like you asked us to, and please let us know if it continues to be an issue. So I think the woman will call it, she's like, people are still throwing crap in your porta potty.
I mean, the other option, and I don't know who would be responsible for this, but you do see at some places that there's a lock on it, when games and things aren't happening.
Right. They just lock it. Yeah.
On the porta
Lock it
potty?
at night, or, I don't know, I mean, lock. 'Cause
Yeah,
I feel like legally we have to have one up there if we have games and things going on.
well,
Right.
and the other
If
thing
there's
that.
right.
Okay.
No,
Well,
that's
the other thing is, we are a public park. We're not the town of Hubbardston Parks, because if we were the town of Hubbardston, we could do it. But because the park was built with state funds, it has to be open as a state park.
Okay.
okay.
Doesn't
So,
have to have a bathroom facility, does it?
I don't know. I meant to look into it. I didn't, but I think you do, because almost anywhere you go where there's a state park, because John said the same thing, pull the porta potties. I'm like, well, you got little kids up there and I don't know. And you have games going on and you had summer camp going on last week for soccer. I mean,
It's a different mess you'll be dealing with if you do that.
yeah. So, so let's see if Scotty's Potties calls us and says, people are still dumping trash in there. And you need to do more. I mean, I'm just really hoping that literally put the trash barrel right beside the porta potty. So,
I mean, maybe putting the cameras up there might decrease that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be a deterrent. We could just say something like, please don't put, dog poop in here in the bag, you're on camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah,
like
I
that.
gotta think, I mean, just to go on here, I
Yeah.
gotta think if the trash can's right next to the porta potty where they're gonna open the door to go throw something in, they're gonna see the trash can. and that's gonna be the better option. So I really think it's gonna go away.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if we're putting cameras up there anyways, the
Mhm.
cameras may also, like, somebody may, you think twice before just tossing it, because you know that there is a camera.
Right.
So it might decrease a lot of things, not just, kids tipping over porta potties.
Right.
Which would
Yeah,
be
and
nice.
no, you're right. And when we put the cameras up there, we're gonna put signs up. And to also talk about that, so when I had discussed it with Ryan, actually last week through an email, and meeting with him today, he said that he's brought it to the attention, because I did bring it to the attention to the police when it happened back in June. And he suggested the tram cameras, but Ryan said that there's now a new police chief in town, and he said he discussed it with him, and then Ryan sent me a text that said, I got this from the chief, and they're going to actually patrol the park through the parking lot and look every 2 hours. So it's what they're gonna do, and they're gonna specifically look over to where the kids might be in that barn, because they're saying they must have a light on. I mean, they're going there at night, so they're gonna start specifically looking for it. So
That'll be great.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
yeah, so that was a good support from them. So all right. So I think I'm trying to get an ARPA funds, ARPA application in for the security lights will be good. Also, the trash compactor that we had talked about last year, trying to do that. And we have the kind of the budget for that, because we went through all that to try to get it and buy it outright versus leasing it if we get the funds. And if we don't get the funds, we'll just meet and talk again. And for the security lights. So also moving forward with that, the irrigation system has been fixed. And basically, we decided to put it, so basically what was happening is that old filter system that we had was working for like 15 minutes, and it was so clogged with so much rust and sediment that no water could get through. So we finally, that's why the systems weren't working. The irrigation systems weren't working all the way through. So we had that replaced. It was $6,500, but I had gone to the town about it, and Ryan said that he applied for emergency funds, because I guess the town had some emergency funds. And he says we should be all set for that cost for emergency funds. But one of the other issues that's going on with the system, and again, the system is 30 years old, is that the bladder inside the holding tank isn't working. So what's happening is, so the system is, the well is constantly running because the pressure, and he explained it to me, but I don't know how to really stand the
The
mechanics.
water in the tank creates the pressure.
Creates a pressure. So because it's not working, the well is constantly running. And actually, when he went down to check on it, so when it kicks on, it shakes, and then it stops, and then it kicks on, 10 minutes later, and it shakes again, and it actually wore a hole. There's a rubber hose that runs out, and it runs against the wall, and it had actually wore a hole from just that vibration right through that rubber hose.
Yeah.
So he's getting me a price for two things. He recommended one or the other, and one is to just replace the whole holding tank. And the other thing that he talked about is there's actually a well system that bypasses the holding tank altogether, and the well just works when you call the water. So he says you can technically put in a new well without even having a holding tank, so you don't have to worry about this in the future. So he's getting me prices for those two things. And so again, I asked him if he could get it to me, by the end of the week, because the ARPA applications have to go out and on Monday. So I guess I just need to know if people know about one or the other, or are willing to just vote that, whatever he recommends. He's been our irrigation guy for 25 years. Whatever he recommends that we would go with, as long as if we want to put a ceiling for the cost on it. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I would think that it's the only need for water is for the irrigation system. Nobody uses that water because it's been gross. So I don't know, is it clean? Is there an opportunity to use it for something else
well, we
afterwards,
could-
or is it, now that
well,
it's gotta do that?
Well, you can call for water by hooking a hose up like now, so if
Yeah.
people wanted to water their car, or, I mean, water the
Would it go
plants.
through
or-
would it go through the irrigation, through that new filter system?
It will. And so
So-
to go back and explain that new filter system, I'm sorry. So we used to have filters that we actually would put in there. And remember, Chris Prego was cleaning them and, every week or two. Now there's no filters at all. It basically cleanses at the end of every day and spits the dirty water out. It might even be more than once a day.
Yeah.
But he said, it's like this big. It looks kind of like the tank in your house, if you have one in your house. But there's no water, I mean, no salt
Salt,
needed for it,
yeah.
or anything like that. So it purges like at least once a day, maybe once an hour. I'm not quite sure exactly. I don't remember exactly when it
So
is.
if people aren't gonna be trying to, like, it's no opportunity for anybody to wanna try and drink that water or do anything, like, it's just only for irrigation is all we're gonna use it for, right?
Yeah, exactly. Although I do know, like, when they fill the dunk tank, they'll put a
Yeah,
hose up
that's
to the
what
dunk tank,
that's
stuff
what
like that.
We haven't had dunk tank in a few years, and when we did, we started bringing in water from.
Well, they actually had one at the Hubbardston Celebration this year. Yeah.
Yeah, anyways, so I think what I was getting at is I think that on-demand one is fine. We don't really need a tank if we're just only gonna use it for irrigation. I don't really see why else. It's only a little bit of water.
So, yeah, so I did ask him about, geez, can we fill the ice rink with it? And he said, no, he goes, he would still have to shut it down in the winter time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be an on-demand well pump is what it is.
So that would be the actual pump that goes at the bottom of the well? Is that what we're talking about?
That's what he's saying versus having a tank. So we would be replacing, and actually the pump might actually be wearing out as it is now because it's running almost constantly because
Yeah.
that bladder's not working.
Yeah, that pump's not being used the way it's supposed to be.
And that pump is 7-8 years old at this point. So,
That could be pretty pricey too, though. I mean,
I don't know.
they probably end up being somewhere in cost, a few $1,000.
okay.
Anyways, I would be fine with either one, but I think the on-demand one is fine. It's probably the best way to go.
Okay. Anyone else has opinions or?
I think the on-demand one, we're getting a new pump out of it too. So at least we know where we're starting from,
Right.
with new
Mhm.
stuff versus if we put the tank in and the pump goes the next week, then we have to buy another pump.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I think it depends on what the price is, but I think if
Mhm.
they're similar, I think no tank isn't a bad thing. Less things to go wrong up there, I think is better. But again, I don't know much about the pumps.
Mhm.
I've only replaced one in our old house. knock on wood.
Okay, so do we want to take a
Knock on wood, man.
vote on that? Do we want to take a vote on that? And if he recommends this as well, I mean, he just said, he gave me these two options
Yeah.
and he's getting me prices on them.
I would make a motion that we do whatever the best option is that he comes up with.
Okay,
Second,
Second it. Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, speaking of that, another issue that is down there that, we can see if we can address it. If we don't want to address it, he said he would come try to take a look at it, but I will tell you, he's a really nice guy. He's getting up there in age. And some things are a little difficult for him to do these days. But one of the issues that had happened earlier in the year is, I don't know if you remember, but over by the wooden benches that we put together a few years ago. I don't know how many of you were on that, but remember we replaced all the seats on those benches by the soccer field.
Yeah.
Further down by the other porta potty, not the one behind the bandstand, but to the left. So there was this big metal plate in the ground. And so I went down there. He asked me if I'd meet him down there one day. And he's like, can you help me move this metal plate? I'm like, okay. It was heavy, but we were able to get it off. And what had happened, so what is underneath there is all the electrical components for the irrigation system.
yeah, valve box.
Yeah, so, but what happened was over the years, because that system's like 30 years old, the metal cover had sunk into the ground and had crushed some of the electronics. So
Mhm.
he was able to, so we were able to get it off, and he was able to fix the electronics for the irrigation system, and he put like some waterproof tape and like that. But he said, we need to put something else on top of it. But I'll be very honest, I kind of forgot. He actually took two of the side panels to the ice rink, the white ones, and placed it over them. So it's fine, but it's just super temporary. So actually,
Yeah, I
that
saw those up there. They were still there.
they're still there,
2
but it
weeks
was
ago.
brought to my attention, we should put something a little more permanent over it.
Yeah.
So I just don't, I don't know. So I'm thinking, what, a piece of plywood? I mean, what would we
Well,
put over it?
Probably should just have him install a regular irrigation valve box, right? It's like a heavy duty, like HDPE plastic that it's basically buried in the ground, and then the lid is more or less flush with the top of the ground, and then you can open it and service the valves that way, because that's
I think the valves are already in something. This was just a cover. So he
No.
was saying all we have to do is cover it.
But if it's sank into the ground, I'm guessing whatever there probably was a valve box there to begin with, and maybe it's just deteriorated, or it's
You don't have any pictures of it, do you?
I don't-
sank.
I'd have to go up and look at it. I don't know if it was covered with steel and it was been up there for 30 years. We didn't even know about it. It did its job for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If we do it with wood, we're gonna know it's gonna.
Steel plate
we're gonna
and-
step through it or something all the time, right? So it's gotta be something that's gonna last, and I don't really understand fully what we're talking about, so I'd have to go look at it.
I didn't look at it from a standpoint of like, how do we cover it? I just looked to see what it was, because I was like, this is odd. Why is our, part of our rink out here?
Mhm.
You
Right.
know, and it looked like wiring. So I assumed that it was, what we had fixed on the irrigation system. But yeah, I didn't notice like something that we could attach like plywood or anything to. But I mean, if there was a box, maybe there is something we can attach, but I don't know who can do it.
so I don't know. I mean, I think they just put this metal plate over the whole area. I mean, I don't know if we could, I mean, we were able to move it. It was heavy, but I mean, can you just buy a metal plate? I have no idea. So I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah.
So. But he said something needs to be done, because you don't want kids playing with it. You want anyone falling on it. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
so,
Well, yeah, I just go take a look at it. I can go take a look at it,
okay.
or anybody can, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, and in a former life, when I first graduated from college, I worked in irrigation, so that's why I was, suggested just installing a regular valve box. I mean, how many valves are there, Sanda?
I think there's 6.
Oh yeah, so you're not talking, and that's, maybe it's gonna be, it's like 1.5 feet long or 2 feet long by like 1 foot wide to like, and
So,
that'll,
so those so the plastic boards that we have are 4 feet wide. And what are they, 16, 18 feet long, and it covers it. So I mean, if you want, I can ask him if he'll go take a look at it and see if we should have a box. If he should pull it up and put a box in it. He did tell me that the irrigation system, he installed some of it, not all of it, and some of that stuff was installed by people who kind of didn't know what they were doing, even though it does work. And but I don't know if they're in a box or if they're just in the ground.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. So
they should have a valve box. I mean, that's,
pretty standard.
yeah, because then that way when you,
You don't want it filling up with water.
right, yeah, and then when you blow out the system, you apply pressure at the main backflow valve, and then the way we just go to the valve boxes and open all the valves manually. That way you make sure that you blast out all the water, and
Mhm.
and then it's good. For the
So you
material.
keep saying valve box, but I think it's electrical. It's all electrical.
Yeah, no, you have
Okay.
you have to have electrical control on this. So the electrical and the water both go to the box. And
Same
that's,
thing.
yeah.
So should we see about him replacing the valve box? Or and he might come back and say, yeah, that's not what needs to be done, or I can't pull that thing out of there. You'll have to
Yeah.
find someone else to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if he can do it, then great. If not, then we go to plan B, maybe.
Okay. All right. So I will be in touch with him. Okay, that's good. Irrigation system, ARPA, well, something, okay. Charlie Clark Corner, so I want to thank Eric for coming out the other night. So basically the new electronic town sign is going on Charlie Clark Corner, and there was issues with where it could be placed and where it could be visible. And so there was conversation about pruning a tree, both trees that are down there to make this more visible. Met with Eric last night, and he, thank you so much, but he said he'd be able to prune it and trim it up and what have you. And I did tell you, Eric, you can actually charge us for your time. You know, you're doing a professional job, and just give us a bill and we can take care of that. But they were very happy to hear that you would do that. So let's see. Oh, okay. Kind of a miscellaneous thing I had is, I don't know if you guys have been at the playground very often, but so the grass that was supposed to be in front of the playground is just dirt. I mean, the grass barely grew last year. It's not growing at all this year. So it's kind of just like to me, it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
Because it's just pieces of grass here and there, and then the rest is just packed down. Kids are running on it and running across it. So I didn't know if people felt like we should beautify it, and I don't mind volunteering to do that. If people think it'd be easier if I just put like a ground covering plant that would spread and maybe just spread along that.
Yeah, maybe even just like clover.
Just by the parking lot? Like,
Yeah, like where the sign is and everything, just that whole area of the grass just never
Yeah.
grew. And
Because the problem was it was seeded and it was late in the season, and then
we were walking on it, yeah.
yeah, it's a high traffic area, so that's
Yeah.
something like clover, might do better, because it's kind of it's tough, and it doesn't really, because we don't have irrigation right there, and
Mhm.
but the time to do that would probably be
The fall.
late summer, yeah, early fall, exactly. Give it a time, and if you want, I can help you with that too, Santa. We probably would just have to scarify the soil that's there, and just maybe put a little compost or topsoil down to give the seed some sort of purchase. But
No, you're talking like clover that like grows in your yard and the bunnies come and eat it? Is that what you're talking?
yeah, it's just like a regular clover is a very good ground cover for a lot of reasons, because it, like I said, it doesn't really require much moisture. It's will work in like a high traffic and kind of a poor soil area, and it also provides pollinator habitat. So it's kind of like
All right, so we can look into that. We'll talk about that like at the end of the summer, so we can do that. But I was just saying, it looks horrible. Like we might as well put something there. So,
Yeah, I do that every time I go up there. That just
yeah.
the grass just didn't grow. So
The only reason I was saying I have it is because I bought this little pretty blue plant, and I thought, oh, this is little. This is like big. The thing is spread like this far, and I'm like, oh, I need to get rid of this. It's just going to take over. So I'm like, what can I do with it? Because I hate to throw plants away. I like to move them. I don't like killing them. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I can put it down there, and it will just spread all through there.
what is it?
What?
What is it?
I can't remember. But it's low. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
I literally thought it was, I bought two little bushes, like two little plants like this big, like 2 years ago. And it's just massive now. And but it's pretty. It's real low to the ground, and it blooms blue this time of year. So, but it's nice green foliage, and
I'm sure if we want to transplant some of it there, and that might be a good idea too.
see what happens. All right. Well, anyways, we can talk about that later. But I did want to address that. I think something needs to get done there. The next thing that has been brought up is the Christmas tree in town. It's been brought up by Katie Young, and her and I have kind of talked, back and forth about different things. She wants to know if we'll cut it down. She thinks it's really ugly, and she gave me this booklet. And we were talking one day, and I mentioned to her that in Ware, because I would often work in Springfield, they have this beautiful tree in the center of the town. Well, lo and behold, it's not there in the spring because it's an artificial tree, but it's like 20 feet tall. It's all decorated. And she's like, cut that damn tree down and let's get that artificial tree. I
I
don't
would,
know.
I would hate to cut down the tree. I mean, if people don't want to use it as a Christmas tree, they want to do something else, I think that would make more sense. But
Yeah,
to cut a tree down just because you don't like how it looks with lights on it, to me,
I think,
kind of
yeah,
defeats the purpose of having, the town center. But
I agree. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that tree. And it's a blue spruce and but it's, it's healthy, it's alive, it's a tree in a public space. And just because someone doesn't like it, I mean, it seems kind of arbitrary.
Is there another place for the fake tree to go if we got one?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
she was talking about that tree. She just complains about that tree, and I'm not trying to point her out, but she just wonders who's brought it. I personally think with all the lights we've put on it, I think it looks really nice.
Yeah, I
It
think
looks nice.
in the winter that it looks pretty up there. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
see it. So
yeah, I mean, if people have other ideas of how to hang lights or work on it, I mean, figured it out using ladders and people coming in with their time. I mean,
Mhm.
right.
it's a big space to get, lights to. So I would
Yeah, and-
expect.
And the history of it is we're continuing a tradition in town because years ago, like when I moved into town, they had this other tree there, but it became diseased and they cut it down. So the parks waited 2 years and decided to replace that tree. We replaced it with this tree to keep that going. Even though we didn't have a big celebration for many years, we still would decorate it and light it up. It still is the center focal point of our town common. So, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to bring that up because that's been brought up to me. So that's that. So then the other thing, two other things we'll to talk about. So the capital plan that we had put in, we had to put in a 5-year capital plan 5 years ago, whatever it is. We are on year 3 of our capital plan, which was to seal the basketball court. So that money was approved at town meeting. So Ryan was saying to me, you got this $8,000 to do that. My question is whether or not $8,000 will still seal a basketball court because that price was kind of old. But so
That seems plenty, but I mean, to me, I don't know. I mean,
well, it's also lining the court. Once we reseal it, we got to line it, which I think is the more expensive piece.
oh, right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
So anyways, so I'm going to switch this with something else. And I was also told today that Ryan told me today that Gobi gave the town $50,000.
Oh, wow.
But in the grant money, she specifically said it was to be used for a new DPW roof and to repair or replace the walking track. So Ryan basically said to me and Travis, so you can split it 50-50. So he's looking at me like, you've got $25,000 to do something with that walking track. So I'm like, all right, that sounds good. Let's see if we can do something with 25,000. We should be able to do something. But I was told that in town, they are having the Slade parking lot area repaved with a company called American Asphalt out of Barry. I'd never heard of them, but it's a small family-owned business. And so I said, well, maybe I'll call them. So I called them today, left a voicemail, and I'm like, they're gonna be working in town. Maybe they can give me a price for doing the basketball court. And maybe we can walk the track with them and get a price for either repairing it or replacing, or get a price to see what it'd be to replace the whole thing, which we could talk about at another point. But I wanted to let you know that.
I think we talked about replacing it because the only funds we could figure out was CPA, right?
Correct.
You had to completely do something.
You had to refurbish the whole thing.
Right.
I don't think
well,
we get anything refurbished for that, but then the worst part is along the back edge where all the trees are. And the problem is that's going to be kind of a recurring issue. When I was up there walking not that long ago, I don't know, I wanted to talk to you guys about this, but there's a lot of, and obviously the tree issue, we're always going to have tree roots there. So we basically would have to excavate, get out that whole section, chop the tree roots back, and then refinish it right there, at least along that back edge and maybe along the side edge too. But the other thing is really should do some vegetation control along the stone wall, because that's like all poison ivy and bittersweet and stuff. So I don't know if that's something that we're even allowed to do, because if it's a state park, and I know there's all kind of like herbicide
Mhm.
anti whatever that is. So I know, I don't know the legality of it, but I know that was something that was just kind of was on my mind, that we should maybe look into doing some brush control on the edge there.
Okay.
If those are trees on the other side of the wall, you know how far our land goes?
Geez, that's a good point. I don't know. I do know that the town is, last I know, they're looking to buy that property back there. That we had been asked about earlier. We tried to buy it like 5 or 6 years ago and it got voted down. But I think the town is going back to try to get funds to buy that whole acreage behind the walking track, behind the baseball
Right.
field up there. Yeah, which would be nice. So I guess, so I'll come back with you with information once I hear back from them, and I'll let people know when they're gonna come, if anyone else wants to walk the track with them and talk about that, but maybe we can get 2 different prices to get the sealant done, as well as, even if they can only repair areas like you're talking, there are definitely some big areas out there that need to be repaired, and
What
there's
about-
some walks that have come through and that need to be pulled, and
Because so is local too. Have you reached out to them?
excuse me,
Caruso?
I have not, they're out of Rutland, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I have not reached out to them yet, but
we're,
this,
and if we wanted to get 2 prices, it seems like we,
well, anything over $10,000, we have to get 3 bids.
Right.
It actually has to go out to bid. So, but because this company was already working in town, I said, well, I'll see if they can meet me in town, saying they're gonna be in here, and see if we can get a price there and at least start there. So.
Sure, start.
But yeah,
Yeah.
but I can reach out to Caruso as well, because we will end up needing to get more than 1 bid. And I don't know if it's technically gonna be split 50-50, but that's kind of what he was saying. So between
Okay.
us and I don't even, and he literally said, I'm not quite sure why she put the walking track in there, but she did. That's part of the grant. So you've gotten some money. So that was all good. I'll take it.
well, clearly walked the track before. And I mean, I've met her.
She may have walked the track.
Oh, she may have. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that he did mention, Ryan did mention, is if we don't have enough money with this 25, we could, like, let's say it comes out to be 50, we could put in for our capital plan for next year for the additional money and put it off and do more, like next year, like maybe a whole project for 50.
Do a portion now and then, that's a good idea.
So that is something that he mentioned. So, all right, so I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date with what's going on. And then the other thing that, the only other thing I was gonna talk to you about was, we did get the budget the budget increase. So the town, the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator felt that the park is really a huge asset to the town, and we've really we haven't fallen behind, but from a financial end, they really haven't financially been supporting it. And they definitely recognized all the hard work we've been doing as volunteers. And so they increased our budget for up to $7,500, and we can use it however we need. So whether we need to hire someone, he did talk about that, maybe hiring a maintenance person, if it comes down to that, to take care of like trash and things in the future, as well as, purchasing things that maybe we need, because truly our budget that we had of $2,500 is only paying for the porta potty. That's all it was doing.
That's not enough.
So yeah, so that was really good that, we had asked for a higher budget and that they were supportive of it. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's really good news. So, so wrapping that up, again, you're gonna look into the security lights and the trail camera, and let me know, and we'll, go with that. I will write the upper applications unless someone else wants to sit down and do it with me or take a look at it. It is due on Monday. And we would apply for funds for the security lights for the solar compactor trash can, excuse me, as well as the well for the holding tank, but it looks like we're leaning towards the well with ARPA funds. So I'm just throwing out a figure. My thoughts are this might come to like $20,000, maybe 10,000 for the trash compactor. Cause that was like $5,000 or $6,000 to buy it outright.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know how much these security lights are. Maybe they're only gonna be $2,000 altogether, depending on how many we need. So, I mean, and then I'm thinking the new well, I don't know how much that's gonna be. I have no idea.
Yeah, the well could be pricey.
Yeah, it could be pricey. So, so, all right, but we're all in agreement that we want to complete that application. And, you know, if we get the funds, we get the funds. If we don't, we don't. We just go to a plan B and see what we can do.
Yep, sounds fair.
So,
The other thing they might be able to do is just replace the well pump. You know,
well, they have to replace the bladder if they're going to keep that holding tank. That is what he told me.
Right.
So, yeah. So yeah. Is there anything else anyone can think of? Nope.
Good.
All right. So you're gonna look in security lights and I'm gonna call White Turf, or do you guys want to go down and take a look at that spot in the ground there?
I think I'd like to take a look at it and just see what it is before we put it on him, because
Okay.
it might be something.
Yeah,
we easily do.
I saw it, but I didn't look at it in that,
Yeah,
thinking that way.
yeah. I'll just stop down next couple days, look at it.
Okay, and just come back with it and we can let him know. Because he actually said, well, you know, I could stop by there and take a look and see if I can come up with something. And I said to him, well, give me a minute. I'm talking to my board tonight. Let's see if someone wants to go and take a look at it. I actually said that, you know, instead of putting it on him,
Right.
you know, let's see if there's something we can do. And if not, he did offer to take a look and see what
How
he
big
might
was
be
the
able to
piece of
come up with.
metal you guys picked up?
I'm gonna say it was 2 by 3 or 3 by 3 at the most, but I think it was only like 2 feet wide, 3 feet, 3 feet long, maybe. It's not super big.
That feels about right.
Yeah,
I mean, I may know somebody who has something that covered anyway, so we'll see.
okay. I appreciate that, Jay. So, all right, so, and Eric, I will let you know when they are gonna do that sign, just so you have a heads up, you know, and like I said, you can do it before, you can do it after. You are actually had mentioned pruning the trees maybe after it was in place, because then you would have a better idea as to how much to prune it back.
Right.
Based on the visual of the sign. So, okay, that's it. Someone want a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
A second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Uh,